So, have you ever wondered what it takes to bring a multi-million-dollar hypercar back from the dead? Well, today we're going to dive into the incredible resurrection of a Bugatti Chiron, watching it go from a burnt-out shell all the way back to a flawless machine. This is truly a story of ruin and rebirth. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? This gives you a perfect picture of the starting point. This wasn't a car that just needed a simple tune-up. Oh no. This was a masterpiece, an absolute symbol of automotive excellence that was just left to rot. The challenge ahead was just monumental. So where do you even begin with something like this? Well, the very first step was almost like a forensic investigation. It was a top-to-bottom assessment of the damage, documenting every single inch of its ruin, to understand just how deep that decay really went. And when you get into the details, it's just visceral. The finish wasn't just weathered, it was charred and burnt. Mechanically, the alternator pulley was seized solid, and the inside, get this, was a home for dirt, leaves, and even mouse nests. To top it all off, it was leaking this nasty cocktail of brake fluid and gear oil. A complete and utter disaster. You know, at this point, you can't even really call it a car anymore. It was just a dead weight, a heavy monument to neglect. Seriously, it was so completely seized up that it took an incredible amount of force just to get it to rock back and forth. Any sign of life was completely gone. It's kind of wild to think about, but the path to saving this car actually began with, well, destroying it. So that brings us to the next phase, the painstaking teardown. This was an aggressive but absolutely essential deconstruction to get to the very soul of the machine and see what, if anything, was even salvageable. And this process was, both methodical and totally brutal. They had to literally force the bumpers off. Then they had to cut through this rock-hard adhesive that had probably been there for ages. And then, of course, the main event, hoisting that massive engine and transmission out to finally see what was hiding inside. So how do you even do that? Well, it was a total battle of brute force meeting precision. Think about it. Seized bolts had to be heated up with a blowtorch just to get them to budge. And that rock-hard adhesive, it needed a special heated cutting wire. And all this while trying not to damage the delicate chassis underneath. Talk about a tough job. And once that engine was finally out, wow, the true extent of the damage became painfully clear. The clutch disc, totally glazed over, completely useless. The flywheel had hot spots and even some nasty cracks. The transmission was hiding fluid leaks, and the whole engine bay was just dripping this cocktail of fluids. Yeah, this decay was way more than just skin deep. Okay, so this right here is the turning point. This is huge. After all that deconstruction, all that tearing apart, we get to the moment where the car is stripped down to its absolute core. The destruction phase is over, and now the long road to rebirth is about to begin. And I just love this comparison. It shows that pivot point so perfectly, right? You see it go from this hollowed out, dripping shell to a structurally sound, perfectly straight chassis. It's been taken all the way down to pure raw metal. It's a blank canvas, truly ready for its rebirth. And this is it. The car at its absolute 0 point. Taken down to its most fundamental state, there was really nowhere to go but up. From here, every single piece, every nut and bolt, would be part of this incredibly meticulous reconstruction. All right, now for the part we've all been waiting for, right? The rebirth. And it all starts with giving this machine a brand new identity. We're moving into this meticulous process of creating aesthetic perfection, starting with all the bodywork in paint. And just look at the level of detail here, it's incredible. Before a single drop of paint even touches the car, every single joint is seam-sealed to be completely watertight. Critical mechanical parts, like the crankshaft, are measured with absolute precision. And only then is the entire chassis primed, creating this perfectly uniform surface for its new skin. So, this is it. This is the moment everything has been building towards. After countless hours of stripping, sealing, and priming, that bare metal canvas finally enters the paint booth. This is probably the most dramatic and transformative stage of the whole restoration, where a brand new identity is about to be born. And here we go. The spray gun is humming and the chassis is getting its very first coat of its final color. That new identity, the one that's going to define its new life, is finally being applied, one careful layer at a time. And the color is a definitive polished silver. Wow. I mean, what a stunning contrast to that burnt, charred matte black it started as, right? This is a complete 180 in character. It's gone from something dark and forgotten to something bright, clean, and just full of potential. And the final result, it's so much more than just a paint job. It's described as a brilliant, flawless, polished silver, imbued with the maximum depth, clarity, and shine after hours and hours of polishing. I mean, that's what aesthetic perfection looks like. So, with that incredible aesthetic rebirth complete, it is time for the final assembly. This is where all those meticulously restored components finally come back together to create not just a beautiful sculpture, but a flawless, fully functional machine. The attention to detail in this final stage is just staggering. Seriously, the restored branding is put back on, brand new crystal clear glass is installed, every single rubber seal is replaced, the suspension fully restored. They even meticulously labeled all the internal components for a perfect reassembly. Absolutely nothing was overlooked. You know, the standard they're holding themselves to here is nothing short of absolute perfection. Every single bolt is torqued to the exact specification. Every component is perfectly centered and aligned. This isn't just putting a car back together. This is an art form. You know, this whole journey, from start to finish, leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. After being torn down to its very essence and then rebuilt with such incredible care and passion, can a machine like this be reborn with more soul than it had when it first rolled off the factory line? It's definitely something to ponder.